Kevin Hassett, I do know this, that Donald Trump had enormous confidence in him, the former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. He joins us right now, author of The Drift. Well, the drift we're getting, if you think about it, Kevin, from this administration on these issues is, executive action, it would seem, to deal with climate change with the backdrop of these higher prices, unwinding some of these tariffs under your old boss against China. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the Biden administration is going after the tariffs because they've lost so much ground on inflation. And I think one of the reasons they've lost so much ground on inflation is what you just mentioned about businesses. The fact is that, Doug Holtz-Eakin, an old friend of mine, has recently reported that the Biden administration has put out twice as many costly regulations as the Obama administration. And if you run a business when there's a new regulation, then that costs you a heck of a lot to comply with. And so you hire a bunch of guys to study it and tell you what to do, and then you have to maybe buy some costly equipment. And when you do that, you then have to raise prices. And so people are saying, how can it be that there are more people working and yet GDP's going down? And I think one big reason is everybody's working to obey Biden's executive orders and his new regulations. And so that's what's driving inflation is bad policy. And I think that there is something to it, that if there were more business people around, like I can remember working with Gary Cohn when I first got to the White House, and he'd spent his life in business, right. Then they would say, wait a minute, we can't do this because it's going to hurt small businesses.
Of course, he was forced out or quit in frustration. That's a whole nother story. But let me ask you a little bit about the mood here. And I guess what I'm asking is something that you've dealt with all the time, that, you want a diversity of thought, and some of our more successful presidents have welcomed all points of view. They ultimately make the final decision. But if you're hearing only one thing, like I'm sure in the administration there were a lot of different views on tariffs and how far to go against the Chinese. The president ultimately won the day. That's his won't. He's the president. Here, though, I begin to think that, and you know the mechanics of how it works in that building, if you're only hearing one point of view, it doesn't allow you to consider anything else.
Yeah, and I worry, I've not been inside the White House, so I don't know exactly if Biden's in the meetings, but the thing I can report back about being in the Oval with President Trump is that, you probably know that Peter Navarro and I disagree about a lot of things, and certainly disagree about the economic impact of tariffs, where he'll say GDP goes up, and I'm not so sure. But the point is the president would love to set us after each other in the Oval Office. He would say, Kevin, don't you think Peter's wrong on this? Or Peter, don't you think Kevin's wrong on this? And he would actually you almost scrape open scabs to get us to fight with each other, because he would watch that fight and then he would sort of say, oh, okay, now I think I understand better what I want to think in this space. And that was one of the things that I actually enjoyed the most. At the beginning, it was super anxiety creating, right? Because you go into a room, everybody's attacking you as the economist. But in the end, I learned so much from those conflicts. I hope that President Biden does it more. If he, I doubt he's been doing it if you look at how bad the policies have been.
Yeah, I do. Famously, John Kennedy would entertain all points of view during certainly the Cuban Missile Crisis, from those who were recommending just carpet bombing Cuba to those who had a more subdued approach. He was kind of in the middle, but that's neither here nor there. It is what we're dealing with. If the president were to address regulations and ease up on them, I've always argued, Kevin, and you and I have chatted over these many years, that really got the economic ball rolling long before the tax cuts, and they're very important to business. The more that are piled on, the less well they do. And I'm wondering if that would go a long way if the president did something like that. What do you think?
Regulation, if you think about Joe Biden's, one of his first executive orders was to make it so you could pass, the cabinet agencies could pass new regulations without passing a cost-benefit test. And that's why now there have been twice as many new regulations as there were under President Obama, because I can tell you that, if you go back to, say, under President Obama, Peter Orszag's Office of Management and Budget, they took the cost-benefit analysis seriously. Jason Furman, when he was in Obama's chairman of CEA, in the position I had, that they put out a cost-benefit analysis, which I didn't super agree with, that was really careful about their climate plans. And so the point is that by taking that away, then you speed up the regulation process. And what I would do if I were advising President Biden is I would say, look, we need to bring the cost-benefit analysis back. Even President Obama's team used it well to keep the agencies from getting out of control, and we need to do it too because the agencies are really out of control.
Yeah, you think of almost any business, any costly undertaking or investment, they try to spell it out and they try to really examine it and go really, really into the weeds here. Sometimes their predictions don't pan out. They might be too bullish or too bearish, but at least they do it. I don't know. It's not a bad idea for the United States government. Kevin, great catching up with you. Thank you very, very much.